Hey everybody, what's up? You got Lady Hippy, and I'm at the bar, of course, where I live. Meaning the bar is at my house. Playing a little bit of cleaning music is what I call it. Makes me dance around the house and get things done a little quicker. There's a little bit of foreigner back there for those in my age group. The others may not have an idea what that is. Not that one, not that group. It's not as popular. So let's see what's up for today's agenda. Really not a hell of a lot of anything. I kind of wanted to see if you guys would give me some feedback today. We've already been removed a few times from the live stream. It is for entertainment purposes only, guys. If you see me, you like, share, subscribe. It's great. I'm usually up here spouting nonsense about once a day, except for weekends, which I started taking off last week. It's not like I have a large following. Love y'all anyway. Not to get worried there. I didn't do it to get a large following. I still don't do it to get a large following. Not me per se, but others that will talk to me or set up their own webcams and broadcast. YouTube is a great media boon for all of us who are now, especially the baby boomers, i.e. the hippies, that we are retired. Say that lightly. So our generation didn't get to run around like this generation does. If they have time, they don't have much time either, but they did in their 20s. And so, well, actually, I did run around a lot. In any event, I didn't take a lot of time off. And so we've all had to adjust to being retired. Yeah, I fidget. Just get over it. Entertainment purposes, guys. Like, share, hit the bell. Come on. I'm afraid I do not want to touch on politics or even current events today because I have this chip on my shoulder and I tend to tell it like it bloody is. And apparently some people don't like that, along with our free speech. Yes, it's free as long as they don't take it down. Or I'm fidgeting again. I see my door. It doesn't seem like there's a vast distance. I love the way this thing films. Yeah, ladies, just, an FYI here. They say that the camera puts on 10 pounds, and that's not true. It's just not true. They put on 40. Yeah, so you have to really adjust for that one. Mine kind of lags, so sometimes I'm stuck in one of those weirdo poses, like where's Waldo time? I mean, what's she doing? And so today we'll just do a little background music and start asking some questions, which inevitably leads me back to things I really don't want to talk about today, because again, I just say what I think. Whatever's in my head, I usually say it. And sometimes, like on this kind of a thing, it's not very welcome. Tongue in cheek. So if there's anybody out there that does see me, those of you who do like, those of you who don't like, I asked my daughter-in-law about 2 weeks ago during our birthday and stuff. I said, have you caught my podcast? And she was, swear to God, started eating real fast, had a whole mouthful. So I'm thinking she's not one of my greatest fans. I do not make money doing this, guys. I'm not averse to making money doing this. I just simply don't make money doing this. And so I usually say, well, for me, it's social Woodstock. I used to do the same thing on Facebook every day. Probably 4 or 5 times a day, I would post what I'm doing, what's happening, what I really felt about certain things in current events. If you love to travel, tongue in cheek, entertaining, guys. I'll be here the rest of this week. Oh yeah, today's the end of the week. Hey everybody, welcome to Friday, the 13th. So yeah, Friday the 13th, of course. And these things always bug me when they're on this side of me, and I forgot that, so I'm not going to keep trying to fix that right now. Bear with me. Like I said, I'm just playing some tunes on the old actual YouTube on the big screen, which isn't in this section that you can see. We've been remodeling, and I still have not painted my door. You can see the outline. We've been here 12 years, so there was some wear and tear on things. And literally, of course, the front door had to be redone. That's just the primer coat on there, and it's gotten dirty. It's been so long. Again, we're retired and we needed to be. My husband's going towards 70 on a fast track, and I'm still moving up solidly at 42. So, yeah, it's the camera. I got a bridge out. Okay, yeah. I'm a fidget. So there is a lot to talk about, truthfully. If I can do so without actually spinning my own side to it, I would touch on those bases. But I'm almost at loss today. Um, I usually have my stiffener, which is over here somewhere. It depends. If I get stuck, I have my stiffener, and I just actually poured me one. I'm in the midst of doing the entire house cleaning, which is like every other day now that we have cats. I thought it was bad when I had 3 dogs. I miss them all badly. But we have cats. And some of them have been here about 8 years. In Serenity's case, she's my Persian Himalayan. We rescued her very first when our puppies were still here. And so she's been with me about 10 years, which is fairly old for a cat. She looks annoyed all the time. She's always had a very expressive face. She would look at you like, really? Now she just simply looks annoyed. 21st, every time I see her, she's annoyed. She didn't help me this morning. As I said, it's a day where I clean and so forth and so on. I'm getting dressed and I'm doing all these things. The husband's gone out the door. And so I just went with my makeup mirror that lights up instead of all the other stuff. And I actually was not going to get up here and opine today. I was going to let this be. But it's Friday the 13th, and I'm trying to only take off on the weekends. It surprises me how much time this takes. It takes so much of my time that I do not hardly ever go to Facebook. And if I do, it's because I'm on my phone and I'm actually bored riding around or something. No, I'm not driving. I'm just saying. Some people I understand do that. My poor little pen. I just got this little thing. Robert gets me these cute little brooches, and I don't even know if you can see it. I wore it yesterday. It's not such a background as it's not playing into the camera very well. It's just a small vase of roses with a diamond highlighted, uh, well, leaf stone stalks. All that's kind of diamond plated. So, and I do love these things. They really dress up an outfit, and I hadn't thought of them in years, and I had several already. And I have a lot of jewelry boxes, and they're full. And I tend to put on one set of jewelry I did, and save one type of ring on every finger, and just leave that for a month or so. And now I tend to try not to wear the same thing every time I'm on the air. You do probably see this headband a lot. It's one of my bigger ones, so it holds the earphones pretty much perfect. If I do not put the earphones either behind my little bonnet or something, they will just fall off. They will or fall down. This thing I knew would be the other way. And so yeah, so I try not to wear the same thing twice, at least not in a row. This is one of my full length dresses. It's tight, for the arms and the chest and down to the upper waist, and then it starts the A-frame. And I love these. I have 4, not the same print, but I love all of them because they're just great. I can run to the store. I can run to lunch. I can clean the house. Depends on what I want to do. So a lot of the clothing that I pick up, and I do have a lot of clothing, you won't actually see like other people do. If I've worn it, say, once out in public, I tend to not wear it again in public. People know me. I've been here over a decade. So, it's like old home week. And where'd you get that gown? Or where'd you get this purse? So I know people kind of notice me. So I don't want to wear something out while I'm in public that's been seen a lot. And this one has been seen. I was in a hurry and I ran up to get a couple of things and stopped in to get my cappuccino. I always stop in and say hi to the girls. And it's an expensive stop. But I go through and I say, how you doing? And they'll tell me if they got this dress or that coat that I have. I tell them where I got it. So I get a lot of those kind of questions. And again, I try not to wear the same thing each time. It may not work out as well the second time. But the brooches, I've redone the jewelry. I added 6 more type boxes that fit together, and they're all in boxes per se. So then I have to go through and I say, this is earrings, this is a set, this is a necklace. And most of the jewelry I have pretty much are sets. So I ended up doing it that way. This is a set, this is a necklace, this is earrings, to find out what I was doing. And then I finally got down to which is how the story started. I got down to a box where I put all of the brooches. And I just, like I said, I hadn't seen them lately between all of the work we've been doing for 2 years now. We were able to get the pod out of the yard, which our neighbors were probably disappointed in because we weren't going anywhere. I kid, I know all my neighbors. I do. They're not high neighbors that we actually exchanged thoughts and so forth. We all simply really made up and got to meet each other during the ice storm about what was it, 8 years ago. That was a trip, yeah. And I'm from the north. I'm from Chicago originally, but I've been everywhere else, so you can't really count that one too much. So back to the original story was I tend to pick up brooches and Robert, I go, see, I forget his mirror type. He'll get me this, that, or the other. And he started getting them because he thought I had no more brooches. He didn't know what happened to them, but they weren't, most of them anyway, were not incredibly expensive. They were expensive, but it's not payment a house on it or something like most people do with wedding bands nowadays. I kept my stuff for the honeymoon. We had several $1,000s when we took off. I think we had $4 left when we got back. Had a very good time. I couldn't believe how much champagne one can drink. Everywhere we went, they knew we were the wedding couple, the honeymoon couple, and we got all kinds of free champagne every hotel we had booked. It was great. We were just, I mean, you can't drink and drive. Back in those days, it wasn't, as bad as nowadays. Every other corner there's a sign, but you didn't do that. You just did not drink and drive. You knew that could kill some. We had our nephew was killed by a drunk driver. He was in a Volkswagen. The other guy was in an Impala, and it just went right through my baby's Volkswagen. They had to cut him loose. And had just turned 18. Was the only one of 5 children that was going to graduate from high school and had already been given a scholarship to college. And it's been 25 years, I guess, or more now. And I still tear up when I think of that baby. He was such a great guy. He really was. And family oriented, loved his brothers. If one of them got, into one of his brothers' faces, they had to deal with all three. The girls are still with us. Unfortunately, his sister was driving in front of him that night. It was Halloween night, and they were going home from a party. No, they were not drinking. And she saw the headlights in her lane and whipped out into the field. Her car, they figure, must have blocked Eric's little Volkswagen. It was a much bigger vehicle. And he simply didn't see the oncoming guy in his lane until he could not avoid that in any way. He was literally hit head on with no idea that maybe a second or two from the headlights. This was in the middle of the night. We were in Texas at the time, and I've traveled the world. I had never seen storms the like that I saw that night and day that it took us to get here. It's a 21-hour drive, and it was tornado. You could see the tornadoes lit by the lightning as we started out, and it was that way the whole way. So that's 5 states that we had come through. We were from San Antonio at the time, so down in the tip of Texas, near Brownsville, El Paso, and all that. Went down here, and so you had to drive up like to Houston. Well, you had to drive up to Houston and get on 20. We had made that trip many times since we had married in '93. We had been together since the '80s, but didn't want to do the marriage thing. In any event, he wore me down. So, yeah, it was one of those type things that you just knew. It was as if the angels and God were weeping because the whole drive, uh, it didn't clear up. As a matter of fact, we pulled up. We'd stopped at the hotel for a second or two, and we went straight on into the funeral parlor. And as we pulled in with our car, the sun came through and hit the building. And my son was 13, and he had just turned 13. Actually, turned 13 on the day of the funeral because it was Halloween night that we lost him. And he was a pallbearer. And he loved this young man too. We all did. So, just throwing that out as to one of the reasons I'm interested in the paranormal. Just one. My son's father passed away last year, and I'm surprised he's not haunting me. He was that kind of guy. Lots of fun, though. He was when he was around and you weren't actually married to him or something, you were good to go. He was a great guy. Everybody loved him. So I was sorry to hear his passing. He's the same age as my husband, and so that scared me a little because my husband has fought cancer, stage 4 and 1. So there was all kinds of stuff going on then. Wow. So again, if I veer into personal stuff, I can stay off of the world news, what there is. It is astounding to me that more of my age group are not using this medium, this social Woodstock. We don't have to get wet. We don't have to get hot. We don't have to get cold. We don't have to spend a lot of money. In fact, this is free. The sets my son and my husband bought me at Christmas so that I could start doing this. I had a lot going on with Facebook, and I needed to step back. And in particular, once I started the podcasting, I had to step back because I just didn't have time. I try to do 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour. Certainly, hopefully not more than that. Again, entertainment purposes only. And I was reminded of that by the YouTube people over there. I didn't think I was well liked or a lot of viewers until suddenly some of my posts are coming down, which is fairly entertaining, I'll tell you that. So again, we have live chat up today. Uh, I love these steel cups. I wish I'd had them when I was 20, slogging around the world. You didn't have bottled water then. Now I think Perrier was around, maybe very expensive if it was. Now we just drank wine. They sold that shit everywhere. You asked for a Pepsi, it was hot, and it cost more than the bottle of wine did. So you just stuck with wine. I used to water it down a bit. My wine, just to stay drunk. If I wanted to get drunk, I usually had an ale, a Pilsner, a light ale, not the darker ones. And that's Germany for you. Yeah, I still miss it. I wouldn't have stayed, of course. And I say nowadays, I would love to retire in Scotland instead of. I love Augusta. Don't get me wrong. I do love it here. But if I were to have picked a place, I would have picked Scotland. And then I saw, trying to stay out of current events, but then I saw what was happening in Scotland, and I was like, boy, I dodged a bullet there because it's just the one peaceful side is protesting about the other peaceful side, as we all know, which is worrying. And then, of course, they threw in the Irish are having a problem. Again, I'm not sure what statement it was that got me censored, for want of a better word. Um, because I mentioned, and I will mention it again today, then maybe I'll know what it is, that all of these countries, ours included, every state supposedly, and some are still pushing for refugees to come, mainly Muslims. There's nothing wrong with that, except when they just try to tear my world apart. They're not acting like they're here because it's a refuge and they wanted to be here. And then I see things like New York is just gone. Gone. If you find anything, it's tents on the streets in front of boarded up shops. So people can't get a job. There's no shop there. There's no grocery store. There's none of those things. And I mentioned at the time, what did everybody think when they voted dissent? I'm not sure it was voted on in the United States because I haven't seen that, but apparently something of that effect was done. But did they think they were just going to tell everybody you get free shit when you get here? Did they think that wouldn't cost us until we had no more money left? Did they think that the good guys that with their own money were coming? No. They really? Because at the time I was like, stop, there are terrorists in there. Well, they only caught one or two in Europe so far. Germany had to take down a mosque. They had to demolish it because it was a terrorist headquarters. There's 45 in one city. Tommy Robinson. They don't probably want me to speak about him. Go dude. They keep putting him in jail. He's just speaking about the fact that Ireland is a mess. There's no more money. You've got people living in hotels and you've got regular people on the streets because there's no more places to rent. And if they could rent them, they can't afford them. But nobody's helping them. That's why they're in the street. But the migrants or the asylum seekers, whatever tag they're putting on them, are in hotels. And we're talking swag hotels, fancy damn hotels. And in one case, it's 2,500 quid a night. And I used their phraseology because it was in England. It was in London, I believe. Um, and of course, the hotels have no problem with that, and except for the few that have left, and then they have to refurbish everything because it's torn, slapped down. It's the same thing that happens to everything else. New York, they can't sit on the sidewalk cafes anymore because somebody's coming by with a moped, taking their purse, their phones, their jewelry. If that's not good enough, you're in the subway, they're choking you out, taking your wristwatch. Apparently, there's a lot of Rolexes out there. I saw them. Foot Locker was mobbed by 100 people. Wasn't one woman in the bunch, all hooded and masked and just took everything. It was like locusts. So yeah, if that's wrong of me to say what is actually happening, then I apologize to YouTube and to everybody else. Please let me know. I'm more than willing to listen to any other side. That all I see is the truth being these. It's always a migrant. Texas is run over, tent cities as well. People can't get any police because at first the police were being shot in the head, and that's for the last what 5 years, 6 years. So the world is imploding. There's to me, there's no other reason to say, you know, that places like New York, certain areas in London, so forth and so on, they're just gone. There's nothing there. There's no shops. There's nothing but people in tents or people in hotels. But they're the ones in the tents, if they're there in a tent, is generally the population that was raised there and their parents for 8 generations served the crown or served the president, what have you. I did. So, and if free speech is supposed to be a wonderful thing, apparently free speech is only good if they decide you could say it. So that's not free speech, folks. So they'll probably get mad at me again today. I hope not. But I wasn't shooting to stay up here very long today. I am hoping, as I said, to contact anyone who feels the same way or sees this is going on. To Cash Jordan. He's one of the great reporters that posts from New York, and I've watched him, and it's just horrific. He shows some of the apartment buildings. They're like 600 square feet, not in the same room, and they're $2,500 a month, and there's no jobs. There's no jobs. So those who have to have these, they have to pay mortgages on the building and so forth and so on, maintain them, but people can't afford to live in them. I think even the government, I would hope, would draw the line at $2,500 a month. But if they didn't, and if the people who are renting it have no problem, and I've seen this too, clips that have been aired on YouTube, that in a 600 square foot an apartment, they might have 30 people sleeping. You step over them to cook in the tiny little spot, maybe 4 by 6 square feet, and the rest are beds or roll-up mattresses, however. And every corner, every place in there packed. A lot of them are doing it illegally. Some of them are advertising uh, for the Ukraine to come or Bosnia to come or Africa to come, but they have this, they've rented it themselves. And it's, say, a 3 bedroom. Well, they're now subletting. They're not there. They're now subletting to 20 people because it's $70 a night. And again, I made the point that, if they're going to get free stuff, they're going to get to be here, they're going to get jobs, all this stuff. And it's never happened, not the job part. But they do get a roof over their head. They do have food. They're still stealing. And I'm like, when I heard this was happening, I kept screaming, no, these aren't going to be the best people in the world. These are going to be the dregs of all societies. That is probably the one they didn't like. Now, I'm not saying that every one of them is. I'm saying a fairly large percentage is, and that's been proven by fact. So hopefully I don't get censored again because I'm speaking about some news program here, there, or beyond. Speaking of news programs, I don't think anything of Fox, CBC, NCM, whoever, MSNBC, they're not news channels, they're political channels. Don't go for that. I also pointed out that the U.S. president is not elected by the people. They're elected by the Electoral College. Look it up. Just thought, just squeeze these in here. But I'm sure there's trigger words that they pick up on. So let's hopefully they don't, because I've got people that are pushing me either way. Should I stay on? and I don't have a large viewing audience. Or should I stop? And I don't want to stop. Again, it's social Woodstock. I want to be heard while I can be heard. I can talk to anybody anywhere. It's free. So can you. So put up a podcast, come in and comment, hit the live chat. I was so speak to you guys. Whatever subject that you wanted to speak of, it's why in the description it says anything and everything. And maybe I should put social Woodstock down. I love the music of our day, we hippies. Which is still really used for commercials and everything else that has a background of music. At least, yeah, I would say definitely the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I kind of moved on into country rock, but I still love my old music. Foreigner, the Eagles. Um, I should probably shout out everybody. ZZ Top. But yeah, there's some good music. But I managed to touch on what I was going to touch on today, which was probably not the smartest thing that I've done today, but it needs to be said. And I do want to know what trigger words they're using. So I know, okay, don't say that because it's not what they want to hear, which is, again, censored, but it's understandable with the world events that are going on today. And I certainly wouldn't want to start a riot or any of those things. They may not have a lovable idea with my saying hi to certain people, probably. Because I call the news channels political channels, I stick with CBN, the Christian Broadcast Network, ITV, the Israeli TV, and the German broadcast. The DN is German, because I just can't find it. I had left them years ago because there's just political change. All you hear is politics. Who did this? Who did that? Why did they do this? And then they have to opine on it. Well, we think this is why. Let's get our guest here, who's so and so, and none of this has anything to do with the price of ham. It's just them sitting there talking about something. And so I said, well, anybody can sit there and talk about something. I have friends that go, really? How do you do that? I do that mainly because not looking at the screens when I'm done and trying not to think about it when I am speaking about it. Other than it does need to be said. Yeah, the world needs to sit up and go, sugar, this is crazy. And those who do stand up and say, enough, you can't let more people in here. We've got no place to rent. We don't have food stores open. We've got nothing left. You can't bring in more. They bring in more and tell you you're a racist because you said, you got to stop. Look what's happening. You can't say that. That's racism. Oops. Entertainment. So I'm going to do the same thing I usually do and let y'all know. Again, talk to me. Come say hi. If you want to talk about something, we'll talk about that. I don't usually drop a video unless it's a request. That's just not exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to sit up, talk to everybody else, and basically about the fact that there's a lot going on, and most of it ticks the boxes in Revelation. If you want to go with that's biblical, like the locust hitting Mecca. Anyway, camels were freaking floating in the Sahara. Look it up if you haven't seen it. I'm not kidding. It flooded a desert. This was last month, I think. Might have been the end of the month previously. But yeah, look up camels floating. I have done it just to be sure. I don't know where these people were that were filming this because out of sand dunes were huge gushers of water. Just, it was amazing. But on that, I guess I better just go and say, peace out, guys.